Okay, welcome out. Here we are for the final phase. We were talking about, this is slide 35. There's 44 in total, so we just have a few more to go. So we were talking about tips for career and life success the last time. Some of these things I have already interspersed throughout the previous two videos, but it's always good to restate. That's education, learning. Learning is about revisiting. Very few of us have the ability to look at now data, information, facts, knowledge, whatever, visuals even, right? And commit them to memory, even for the short term. In order to commit something to memory for the long term, it takes repetition, updating, upgrading, adding to, as well as going over what one already knows or thinks one knows, right? For we are often forgetful. If you consider the fact, that's another thing you should look at, maybe something I'll go over someday. Understand the human mind, how it works, how it doesn't work. It's infinitely fallible, infinitely fallible, easy for you to say. And that's one of the problems. People don't know our mental limitations, right? So for instance, if you read something, say of relative complexity, maybe you're going to read 20 pages for a history, philosophy, psychology, accounting, economics class. You read 20 pages the night before. Within 24 hours, without review, you forget about 80%, right? So we're a highly forgetful people. So it's interesting also, we don't remember well. We often overlay other information onto existing memories. Researchers have shown that people will have a particular memory about something that happened to them in their lives. It actually happened, and they can bear out the facts to it if they've written things down or maybe recorded a video, right? But over time, what happens is that memory becomes weakened, and sometimes what we've heard or seen on the television, in the video, even in real life, that experience, what we've perceived has become overlaid on our actual experience, so these are good things to know, right? How does the mind work, or how does it not work? What are its limitations? Anyways, so to achieve, be true to yourself. We talked about that. Go inner, intrinsic, right? Richer experience if you go inside, and that's my company, inner, it's not exterior or extrinsic projection. We do get that, and that's okay, as long as you're filtering and monitoring what's coming in, right? Intrinsic motivation, that is the foundation and the source and the rock of Gibraltar. Look that one up. The rock upon which we live and strive, right? And if you do that, intrinsic, go to the intrinsic, the internal, tap into those basic core knowns of you, the self. What are your basic inclinations, leanings, your basic motivations, right? Interests, tendencies, desires, all that good stuff. Right? So if you go intrinsic, you get richer experience, better conceptual understanding. I know that once I really began to move along a path, probably in my mid to late 20s, along a path that was more directed and guided toward me and what I knew I needed, not in a self-serving or a selfish sense or a self-exploiting. It might be self-exploiting, but not in the negative way, but a self-interested. Being self-interested is fine, right? Because if you improve the self, guess what's going to happen? It's going to project outward, and you'll be able to help others. And that's the main thing behind a career. The main motivation, impetus behind any career is doing something for an employer. You're the employee, right? You're the source. You're the human resource, right? You're the answer to the question. We need someone to answer the phones. We need someone to file papers. We need someone to write programs, heal a patient, right? So you are the solution. You are a human resource of hopefully, potentially considerable value You should always be in a value-enhancing state, always trying to improve yourself in some way, shape, or form. What did Einstein say about being a good human? He did say men, but that was back in the day. We could say for all people, right? Don't become a person of success, become a person of value. And then your success will come from that value. So being successful is kind of based in doing something that's moral or ethical. Don't lie, cheat, steal, deceive, backstab, right? You want to do all the things on the up and up, be a good Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Girl Scout, right? All those things, brave, clean, thrifty, reverent, blah, 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 right? Nobody wants, a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a family member or a fellow employee or a peer or a superior or an inferior who has inferior moral ethics. Someone who is a backstabber, liar, cheater, stealer, incompetent, lazy, right, manipulator, none of that, right? So be on the up and up, right? Be a good Boy Scout, Girl Scout. So with intrinsic motivation, richer experience, better conceptual understanding, that's when I did start to learn better and to take in information and to take in oftentimes complex information to really understand it quickly, thoroughly, and to retain it well too, because I was motivated. I had a purpose, right? Intrinsic motivation. Before all that, nothing really stuck. I was never really interested. I was always kind of depressed, bored, wandering about. But then once I went inside to the inner self, inward, that's when the magic began to happen. Greater creativity, it all works together. Improved problem solving. In any form, control, rewards, money, praise, demands, inhibits the above. That's another one. I know I've been mentioning some sources that I need to put into the below the video here. Put in the details here. Another one is a book by Dr. Deci, D-E-C-I, Why We Do What We Do, right? And in there, he talks about, he's a psychologist, not a psychologist, and he's a teacher, professor, but he also works with students one-on-one in a psychological form. And he found that any type of control, right? Even positive controls, if you do well and you keep your grades up, we'll buy you a new car, something like that. Money, at work, if you sell the most widgets, whatever it is, right, we'll reward you with a bonus, $5,000 price. There's another video about this guy. He's a former lawyer who became a motivational guru. And he talks about motivation in the workplace. And this is specifically what he says. It's not about money, right? Daniel Pink, P-I-N-K. He says it's not about money, right? Once money is off the table or money is no longer a consideration, it's really about being able to do something, right? I want to excel and achieve and make my mark. I want to be good at doing something. I want to be rewarded based on merit, right? For a good job, for being competent, for coming up with solutions, for making people happy, for improving people's lives. That seems to be the core motivation or impetus for most people. Money oftentimes is, oddly enough, secondary. People do go for money, and sometimes it works out. That's fine. But what do you want to do? What's best for you psychologically? What's best for you for the long term? This stuff has been proven to be true. Here's another one. Oh, speaking of the individual, right? Edward Deci, here it is. I can't, I've got a menu down here that I've got to move to the side. Anyways, intrinsic motivation is almost spiritual. It is a vitality, dedication, transcendence to rise above, right? It is a state of flow when time collapses and disappears, when intensity in the process takes over and the thrill is so great that one hates seeing it end and can't wait to get back to it. You know what that is? Remember your first love? Oh, I love you, Cindy. Yeah. 5 hours later, I got to hang up. How long have we been on the phone? 10 minutes? You lose, a perception of time and space. You're so much in the flow, and that's what love is. You have a love for a significant other or whomever, You also can have a love for what you're doing, and that's what it is. That's what he's talking about right there. When you're in a state of flow, things are just flowing. I used to work when I was putting my business together, or putting my career, getting my career off the ground, some 23, 4, 5 years ago. My career in earnest, I was doing other things before that. But what I'm doing now, what I really wanted to do, end up doing, right? I used to work every day from sunrise to sunset. It didn't matter to me, it wasn't work. It wasn't a career. I was making money off of a living, my living, right? What is it that makes me live, helps me to live, pulls and pushes me along, right? Anyway, state of flow, when time collapses, this is love, isn't it? Disappears, time goes, right? When intensity in the process takes over, the thrill is so great that one hates seeing it end, right? Oh, 5 hours, it's only seemed like 5 minutes, right? So that's kind of the state of mind, similar thing, if not the same, very similar to love, passion for another, especially that puppy love, is that what they call it? All right. All are called to greatness, yet very few seek it, but why? Most not aware of potential greatness. It all begins with awareness, right? Many deceived by and believe in negating opinions of others. That really hurts and harms and hinders. And that can be friends, that can be family. Family does it a lot. And if you try to rise, oftentimes people will say, you're not going to be fill in the blank, right? Especially if it's something that is exceptional or extraordinary, something that will pull you out of the ordinary and put you into the exceptional. People down here who are afraid to go there, or who are jealous of going there, will often try to, you've been on the internet, right? People who rise up, or people who are doing good, there are people that support those individuals, but there's oftentimes people that try to negate, right? It's usually done out of spite and hate and dissatisfaction, oftentimes with their own lives, right? Most fail because they never prepared, right? This is Ching-Ning Chu. Ching-Ning Chu, this is the Thick-Faced Blackheart book that I was talking to you about. That's another PDF link I have to put into the video below. Never prepared themselves for the harsh lessons. This is great. That book is just full of, there's probably 100 quotes I pulled out of there over time. And I've read that, gone back over that book dozens of times. It's priceless. It's really thick and deep and rich. You could read a paragraph and just linger there for hours, just thinking about what is being said in one paragraph, or a sentence sometimes, on occasion. Prepare themselves for the harsh lessons the Creator set for them on life's path to strengthen their spirit and make them fit for life. Unlike the warrior who accepts harsh discipline as a privilege and honor, these people are like pieces of grain caught in a millstone, ground down to the wheel of life in agony and pain. Some experts, I think Earl Nightingale, who are the others? Maybe Tom Robbins. And there's many contemporary and past motivational experts who've talked about the fact that most people, 95% end up at the end of their life dissatisfied, because they never really did what they wanted to do, or took the risks that they needed to take in order to grow, in order to prosper, in order to achieve and exceed, right? Everybody can just kind of mull around and never really go deep within oneself to challenge oneself, intellectually, physically, emotionally, experientially, right? And that's an easy place to be, right? But once you want to achieve something, once you really want to move forward, it's all about coming out of the comfort zone, right? A lot of people are not willing to do that. I started doing that when I was in my probably late 20s, and it's meant all the world for me. Talk about that someday. Got defeat, failure, and disappointment are critical for success. They're the key moments, not when character is built, but revealed. That's a good one. Without life's downside, we would never grow to fullest joy. Failure not an option, because the greater the success, the more you encounter failure. I was talking about Michael Jordan. He said, the reason why I have succeeded more than most is because I have done more bad than most. I have made a lot of bad shots and turnovers and whatnot, right? So he's out there doing what he needs to do, pushing himself, right? to exceed and excel. In order to overcome your shortcomings, you have to get rid of the quirks, right? Get rid of the nerves, get rid of the fumbles. Right? And I've seen many a great athlete do that in the beginning. It's difficult. They're figuring it out. I saw LeBron do that, Michael Jordan, and others, in other sports, slowly build their way up, because it's a real struggle, and it's really difficult, especially to achieve at that level with so much exposure, especially now with social media and so many people critiquing and criticizing and just being outright mean, nasty, and dumb, right? Why is life so great? Because no one is ever always at their best. No one is perfect, and there's always room for improvement, the largest room in the house, right? It is the building of that room that makes life a challenge and joy, right? They say the room for improvement is the largest room in the house, or the largest room out there, right? Most, in seeking a false euphoria, deny the existence of life's difficulties. You will learn more about patience. Notice the red, the highlighted stuff. Self-control, all important characteristics. Empathy. These are things you're not necessarily born with, right? These, for most of us, these are weaknesses, but definitely for me, right? Patience, self-control, empathy. And you need these things because you're imperfect. You're impatient. You fail. You don't know. You're going to mess up. You're oftentimes in a state of not knowing, right? We're infinitely ignorant in our endless lack of knowledge, right? Lack of understanding. So we're always at a state of uncontrol, right? And there's millions of things going on outside of us. Literally, some people will overstate. Oh, there's millions of people who do that, when it's maybe a dozen, right? In this case, there are a million things, or more maybe, things outside of you that are out of your control, right? So, of course, you're going to be nervous and fearful and whatnot, right? But go inside, fix what you can fix. Don't worry about the rest. Let it go, relax. And, like the Zen Buddhist says, just relax and trust in the self, trust in the one, the connection of the one to the big spirit, something like that, or to whatever you're anchoring to, right? You will learn more about patience, self-control, empathy, stress control, and compassion from one encounter with difficulty than from all the trips to Universal Studios, Six Flags, and Disneyland. Those are great places to go. A lot of fun. But fun is distraction. It shouldn't be a regular part of your life, right? Regular part of your life should be work and effort and moving forward and doing what you need to do to get better, right? Better for yourself and better for others and all around you, right? We are all connected. We are of a human. We are the Borg. We are the collective. You ever see that? What was that? Not Star Trek. Star Trek. Oh, it was Star Trek, right? Star Trek. I was going to say not Star Wars. Star Trek, the series, TV series that started in the '60s, I think. Right, Star Trek. So the Borg collective was a bunch of individuals all thinking of one mind, right? And that was a little too fascist or socialist, where you couldn't think independently, right? But we are of a collective in the sense that we're all connected, we're all human, but at the same time, we're all different. Most of us have some aspects of our personalities that certainly overlap with others, but our collective personalities usually set us up unique from others. I don't know if we're all as unique as snowflakes. Each snowflake is different. Snowflake, don't go with the definition of what you would normally think in that regard. Just look at the structure. Don't think of the political definition, but or social. Yeah. So, are we completely uniquely different? Maybe. There's certainly some overlapping, but there's enough about us, I think, that make us unique. To achieve a key skill is not only learn how to overcome doubt, pain, and failure, but to thrive in those times, right? Anybody can, love people who love you, be happy when things are going well, right? But because life is imperfect, and what do they say? As you're making plans, life happens to you. Things that have happened to me, I've had many a breakup, relationships, a dozen or more, 10, 12, 15. I lost count after a while, right? Those are very disruptive. I've had financial difficulties numerous times on many occasions, right? As I was moving forward. Health concerns, right? Had heart attack, had cancer, COVID, a whole bunch of things, major car accidents, you know. Yeah, so you're always going to have things that are going to detract and take away from you. Ching Chu, here's another one. So often we are concerned with what makes us feel good that we forget what makes us great. She's the best. Don't let life happen to you. Take control. Let you happen to life. So what do they say? Yeah, don't let life happen to you. You happen to life, right? You must own your opinions. Unfortunately, most of your opinions are hand-me-downs, right? This is a part of something that most of us don't understand. We just learn by rote or osmosis. You know, we are born in a particular part of the world, in a particular country, in a particular town, in a particular place with particular opinions about the political, social, the religious, and so forth and so on, right? It's like sports fans, you know, fill in the blank fans are the best in the world, right? Well, they all think that, right? And this player is the best player ever because that player is on my team, and that's why, you know. Is it true? In most cases, it's not, right? People are always looking at the GOAT, the greatest of all time. No such thing. There are greats, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to differentiate enough so that you would really have to take a look at an exhaustive detail at everything that they've done over a period of time, like basketball players, you know. Not only, you know, if they, you know, do they score well, rebound well, defend well, do all those things that basketball players do. And if they excelled, why did they excel? Did they excel in a time when the league was weak? There was not a lot of good players. Did they excel at a time when there was a lot of good players around them on a team, right? And so forth and so on. So it's very difficult. It's not impossible to determine GOAT. I remember Michael Jordan saying something similar to that. Almost impossible to tell. They asked him, "Are you a GOAT?" He said, "No, I don't know. Who knows?" Yeah, because I didn't play with those guys back in the day. I'm not playing with guys now. This is after he retired, so I have no idea, right? And the league changes, and teams change, and the interplay between teams change, and the strength of the players and the talent of the players change and differentiate from season to season, team to team, year to year, blah blah blah. Anyways, avoid the many matrices of life. We talked about this. There's all type of matrices. Someday I'll go over that in more detail. Know what you need to know and ignore the rest. That's true. Didn't Einstein say that, right? What you need to know, memorize it, keep it close to you, right? And if you don't need to know it, leave it in the book, leave it in the reference source, look it up when you need, right? So what are some things that you need to know about and that are always going to be with you, right? Finances, money, for sure. Career skills, attitude, knowledge, right? Because you're always working, unless you become super wealthy and just retire at the age of 19 or 20 or 30 or 40, 50. Productive habits, economy, capitalism. You have to know the economic environment. You have to know economics. You have to understand how you're getting paid. What is money? How does money work? How does the government work with money? Most people have no idea what money is. The money that we use, most of it doesn't exist. It's just manufactured out of the air, pure air, right? Federal Reserve, the government says, hey, we need $1 trillion, $1 billion, $1 zillion for whatever program. And the government loves to spend our money, right? Because we pay anything that the government uses to pay down on things or to borrow or to pay for things. It's paid for. That money is borrowed. It's a loan taken from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has no money. Then it cuts a check on a zero balance account, right? And then it enables banks to use that money. And meanwhile, the U.S. Treasury starts selling bonds to pay for that money, right? Because it's a loan. It's not paid for. It's borrowed. It's monetized debt. It's not an asset. It's a debt. It only becomes an asset when that money is paid for or paid off by usually our taxes or other means. Maybe someday I'll go into all that for you too. Political environment, relationships, intimate, professional, sure. The world accepts your own judgment of you, right? As a performer myself, I did stand-up comedy for 5, 6 years, maybe more, working with Bill Burr, Dane Cook, who else I work with? A couple of the really well-known people. And the thing that really, I grew up very introverted and shy. I am not, or was not. I become a trained extrovert. I'm an introverted extrovert. Right? I become a trained dog or puppy. I become a trained extrovert. I had to learn how to be extroverted or to work well in front of people, right? And in order to do well in front of people, that was a really, really, really one of the toughest struggles I ever had. Getting up in front of people, it's like one of the top 5 things that people don't want to do, right? Fear of poverty, fear of bad health, fear of speaking in front of other people because you're afraid you're going to be judged. At this point, I don't care. I could care less, right? But I've overcome it. I've made a weakness a strength. Do what you need to do regardless of what others think. There you go. That's kind of the thick-faced black card thing. And I guess someday I'll sit down and maybe make a video. I would probably have to do the same thing with that, make several videos of that. You have created an inner image largely based on what others told you to think of you, right? That's generally it right there, right? That image is largely based on what others told you should think of yourself as or about, right? So that has to be overcome. Look, another one, ching ding ching. Most commonly accepted standards of behavior are arbitrary, kind of made up on the fly, right? Nothing cast in stone, nothing based in fact or pure logic, patterns of logic and research, right? And the arbitrators, again, notice the root, right? Arbitrate, arbitrary, the root is the same, right? Arbitrators themselves are often flawed individuals who, under the guise, sort of like mask of virtue, have perpetuated their own weakness and fear. Isn't that great? Just you read that a couple dozen times. Each time you come to it, you'll probably go, oh, more and more light will be shed as you read through it. Anyways, education, you need to be in charge. Save our pubic education. There you go. And you wonder why our education has problems. As a teacher, you might want to spell that word correctly. Do a spell check on that, or a self-spell check, right? Not a lot of words there. Spell check or check. Take control of your education. Always take control, right? Take control of yourself. First and foremost, find out who you are. What are your innate talents, abilities, gifts, strengths, inclinations, leanings? What's your personality type? What's your learning style? What's your intelligence type? All this stuff. Once I learned that stuff, whoa. Very empowering, very awakening. Did I use that word? Did I use that correctly? Check me on that. Find teachers who are approachable with high standards and expectations. Yes. A lot of this comes from what I've read over the years. The sources of me. Sometimes I do have a source, such as the next one. Find teachers that, according to the Harvard Project Zero, clearly state course objective, clearly present material, link course content to course objectives, provide students with the example of what is expected, create ample opportunities for students to apply what they've learned, perform knowledge publicly in a practical sense. I usually say to myself, well, here we go with students again. What do most students need most of the time, most situations from a practical perspective? Not what am I in love with? I'm in love with X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to teach that. No. Do they need it? Is it boring? Is it difficult to learn? It doesn't matter. Do they need it? Is learning about finance exciting? No. Is learning about economics exciting? No. What you need to know. Learning something about the law, the lay of the land, the Constitution, right? The law of the land, how laws, local, state, federal, affect you, and they do affect you considerably. Do your politicians at the local, state, and federal level follow those laws? Most of the time, on both parties, Republican and Democrat, they break the constitutional laws on a relatively consistent basis. Nobody knows. Nobody pays attention. Nobody's that interested, right? They're all doing their Xbox and their PlayStation and their tagging and their videos and their internet stuff, right? Who cares? Get them in office. I like a particular party, and I like that person because they're cool. Yeah, that person is cool. I'll make them president. Meanwhile, the person's probably one of the most corrupt people you ever heard. Create ample opportunities for students to apply what they've learned and perform knowledge publicly. Assess learning frequently and adjust teaching as needed. Find teachers with success principles, open-minded, empowering, realistic, encouraging, real-world goal-oriented, creative, pleasing, so forth. And continued, students who perform best in college have greater academic preparation, advanced placement, coursework, or SAT, ACT performance. Find out who specifically you are. Match it to a specific training and education. This is the more detailed stuff that I was talking about earlier. Match training education to specific career, place, culture, where you will excel, right? So that's kind of a general outline. Who are you? Talked about that, right? Find that out as best you can. You know, don't keep going for years before you take the next step. Just get a pretty good feel for it and then keep discovering as you move forward, or you probably will, right? But once you become aware, self-aware, or aware of what's in there, right? What you are, what you should be and could be, want to be. Then match it to specific training, education. Is it a college degree? Do you need a 4-year degree, 2-year degree, technical degree? Do you probably need to do some augmentation? Even if you go to college, do you need to get some experience, hands-on experience out there? Do you need to do some seminars, webinars, some reading of books, articles, sources, videos? There's dozens of people I follow in many disciplines that are fascinating, and I'm constantly learning things, right? About education, about the political environment, about economics, about health, about the medical field, the medical industry, and so forth and so on, right? Even science. I still listen to scientists. Michio Kaku, right, is one. This dude read Einstein, I read Stephen Hawking, right, Richard Feynman. So, you know, be well-read, well-read, broadly read, you know, so that your knowledge is not narrow and shaky. Create a foundation of understanding and knowledge, a resource or a database resource of great depth and breadth, and live in it and let it flow and let it breathe and access it and pull from it. Discover a large, big, huge goal based in intrinsic values. I like that one. Who wrote that? I like it. Based on your innate gifts and talents, or limit opportunities and decrease chance for great achievement, and so forth. Oh, here it is. Here's my reading list. So that's some of it, right? There's the academically adrift. The secrets of college success. I forgot that one. I probably pulled from that on occasion. There it is. That's the why we do what we do. Professor Deci, D-E-C-I. There's the thick-faced black heart. Another one is Napoleon Hill. I don't know if I mentioned him, but he's kind of like the godfather, the founding father, I guess you could say, of achievement, right? Most people that book came out 90, 100 years ago, maybe, I don't know. And you can actually download that online. It's 2 volumes. It's huge. It's like 600-700 pages. Some of the stuff's weird, you know. What he did was, and this is back in the early 20th century. So he was contacting well-known presidents like Woodrow Wilson. I don't think he contacted Einstein, but some really, really big names, some well-known individuals, famous, even now throughout the ages, famous people in politics and business and education and so forth and other fields, right? And he felt that there was probably common things that very successful people really did, thus the 16 lessons. And there's another one I probably have to do. Sit down someday and make a video on that book. A lot of great stuff in there. There's some stuff you can just kind of skip over. Same thing with Thick-Faced Black Heart. Why we do what we do. The why we do what we do and academically adrift are probably more academically adrift more so than why we do what we do. But those are more academic texts. And academically adrift the most academic, right? The Secrets of College is very straightforward. It's a couple professors who are talking to college students. So it's, you know, they're speaking to in common language, not in PhD speak, right? Thick-Faced Black Heart, also very straightforward, common language, and Law of Success, same thing. Bottom line, it's up to you. Don't wait for educators, administrators, reformers, politicians to come up with a one-size-fits-all plan. It's never going to work. You must learn to be 100% accountable for you, right? Not that you don't need or can't get help, outside help. You do, believe me, you know, from spouse, family, friends, experts, whomever, whatever you need. Think about it. Even if you rely on education, what do you do after 16 years or over? You get your college degree, you know. And considering the fact that, and those links, I have to update those links. Search warp. I'm not even on there anymore. Search warp. I don't even know if that's around. That's an article database, and there used to be thousands of writers on there. I was always in the top 10. How about that? Right. Don't just teach it, do it, right? So there's ways of communicating, not only what people need, but also in a way that's interesting, thought-provoking, captivating, right? Get them linked, get them linked, get them hooked, that type of stuff. So after 16 years, and we talked about this, so, you know, with technology, advent of the 90s, mid-90s with the internet, right? Al Gore's internet, that's just a joke. Al Gore invented the internet. I don't know where that came from, but that's been floating about as a joke only, I hope, most people. The internet has really, and technology along with the internet, the machines that we use, the computers that we use, the handheld devices that we use, the vehicles that we drive, right? The things that provide for us base, you know, everyday human needs, entertainment, education, health. Technology has really stepped up our ability to solve our problems, right? And on a regular, dynamic, changing, shifting basis. I guess that's it. So we're done. That's it. So until next time, until we meet again, take care.